So there's a mean girl who works at Starbucks. Now, the 3 of the 4 people that worked last night kind of give me the same treatment. They basically pretend I don't exist, or try their best to pretend I don't exist. Pretend they don't understand anything I'm saying, which is cute. I suppose it would be the 3 mean people who are hard of hearing, right? Oh, it's chilly enough I can see my breath. Miss Lauderdale. She's one of the guards at the Scottsbluff jail. Just like Marcia Estrada, who knows Jen Beebe. Marcia Estrada also met me in the Scottsbluff jail, and so did Miss Lauderdale. They're both well aware of what happens in that facility. Miss Lauderdale tried to break my fingers. Then later on, she was apologetic. She actually bought me a couple of books to read while I was in jail. By the way, I was in jail on bogus charges to prevent me from going to court or showing evidence against Sheriff Scott DaCosta, Leslie Snell, Robert Franklin Warnick, and of course, William Barr. So those people knowingly, willingly, and intelligently worked together to prevent me from turning in any and all evidence against them, to threaten, harass, and intimidate myself and those who were trying to help me, and to omit information and evidence, as well as destroy evidence. They also intentionally isolated me socially, financially. They isolated me from any and all help, and they were able to continue to prevent me from having my rights observed by repeatedly lying to the public and to other law enforcement agencies and to hospitals. That's right, my predators, the very officers that I had been trying to turn in since 2018. And when I tried to turn them in repeatedly, they were allowed to threaten, harass, intimidate, assault, and arrest me. They repeatedly worked together with my other predators to assist those other predators in getting away with the crimes that they committed, and to prevent me from turning in a police report, preventing me from having a safe place or an agency to even turn it into. Miss Lauderdale also knows my niece. She knows my niece's father. She used to be next door neighbors with Riley. She knows Amber. Amber is one of my sister's predators and one of my predators, as well as one of my niece's predators. So Amber can kiss my rosy red ass. I've got evidence right here on my fucking YouTube channel from Amber. Lauderdale knows her. She also knows Riley. She also knows my niece. Now, Miss Lauderdale tried to break my fucking fingers in the jail because they were denying my rights, calling me mentally ill and using that as an excuse to segregate and isolate me from any and all resources that are supposed to be available to the inmates. Repeatedly cutting me off from those resources, repeatedly assaulting me. But Lauderdale was at least apologetic about it. She also is well aware of the horrible things that were happening to me. And she felt horrible about it. She told me she would speak up if anyone would listen. Will anyone listen? So that mean girl today, she worked yesterday, she worked the day before. Most of the time she just pretends that I don't exist. I know if I go up to the counter when she's working, I'm going to be standing at the counter for a while. And she's probably going to take a tone with me that is less than pleasant. I also know that she's going to keep the contact to a minimum. Thank goodness. And the reason I say that is because yesterday, when she was in her element, when she had two other people who obviously hold the same bias, and one other person who I'm not sure, she's been pleasant enough so far. And one of the ladies that's like that, I mean, she's not horrible to me, but the stuff that came out of those women's mouths yesterday, it's like my mom's church group. Any of y'all remember me telling you about my mom's church group? Zach and Dallas both talk about that very same church group because their mother was in it too. It wasn't a church group. They got together as women and had their Bibles with them, but what did they do? They sent all the kids upstairs and then they talked about sex. Basically, their equivalent of a Tupperware party and entertainment all in one in Chapel, Nebraska. The Bored Housewives Club kind of thing. Now, Miss Lauderdale, she was aware and even took part in a situation where she tried to break my fingers and then I was tasered in the arm. It's pretty cool. Don't deny me my rights, motherfuckers. I will speak out. They repeatedly put you on suicide watch because they know they can prevent you from turning them in immediately. They can cut you off from resources. And when you're in jail or prison, you don't have a lawyer. They can put you on administrative this and administrative that up the ass. Sarah Nelson, she's the one that I had to go to. She's the one that I had to go to about abuse. Sarah Nelson of Lincoln Correction Center. Where is she now? She's in prison for abusing prisoners. How much help do you think she really fucking was? I met her the day before I left the fucking prison, and I was in there on false charges by a rotten sheriff and his friends and his employees. How much chance did you think that I fucking stood in Chapel, Nebraska? Meanwhile, you tell me to move elsewhere. Move elsewhere to where? Live in my vehicle if I'm lucky enough to have one? To be blown off everywhere no matter what abuse I'm taking? And you get to see how when it's a male that's abused, everyone just watches. But then again, if it's a mentally ill female, people will just watch. What happened to Jamie is not something that should be allowed to happen, but Jamie is not the only one who's had to endure that. She's had to endure a lot of violence, and so have I. The more violence they commit against her, the more traumatized she is. And the more she exhibits trauma responses, and the more trauma responses she shows, the more irritated they are with her for being traumatized, and the more they beat her. This is the real America. This is America how it really is. Most of the people in this Starbucks are very well behaved. But the ones that don't like me or feel that they're better than everyone else or just need somebody to look down on to make themselves feel better about whatever is ugly on the inside of them. The way those 4 women talked about the mentally ill yesterday, I better not hear a whiff of any of them ever being depressed over a goddamn thing ever. Will I treat them the way that they wanted to treat people? Fuck no. I don't have it in me to do that. Especially not over just a fucking opinion. It's when that opinion starts getting people hurt or injured or killed that I gotta say something, and I will speak up about it, as I always do, rather than resorting to violence against other human beings. When you've got 6 people all holding you down and hurting you all at once because you told on one of them, and you spoke up about the fact that they are denying you your rights repeatedly over and over and over again and getting away with it because they're cutting you off from talking to the people that you're supposed to be able to talk to. That's right, when I was locked up, I was prevented from speaking to the people I was supposed to be allowed to speak to. And they lied to me and claimed that those people didn't want to speak to me. Those people said otherwise to me. Or I was prevented from having them on my phone list, like my lawyer. Whose fault is it that he didn't do his job, didn't even get in contact with me for almost 40 days? It's his fault. His fault. Entirely 100% his fault. No matter how hard I tried, I couldn't get in contact with him because he wasn't on my list in prison. Meanwhile, I only had a few days to go to court against Leslie Snell and show the evidence, but Scott DaCosta had the evidence against him and Leslie Snell. He'd obtained it illegally by lying about me, using his word of mouth. His word versus mine. Meanwhile, officers refuse to look at evidence and say they didn't do anything because they can't do anything when it's just their word versus mine. It's not their word versus mine. There is plenty of evidence you refuse to look at. No matter how public I make it. That mean girl is here today. And same snooty attitude. Same trying to pretend that I don't exist. Everybody else here is pretty jolly, though. Lady who works here named Dallas is super sweet. Bree is here, and even though she's been treating me differently ever since I told her to look up the situation with Natalie Bollinger, she's not mean to me. She just treats me differently now. And yes, it's hurtful the way that she treats me differently, but she's not mean like that intentionally. She just got a shitty opinion in there somewhere. And I get that what they see of me versus what I'm actually going through are not the same. They don't understand all of the hell that I have been through. And for most of them, you know, if I try to tell them about it, they're going to make it a pissing contest. Once somebody's got it in their head that way, so you just make sure that that pissing contest never happens. You mind your P's and Q's, and you try to keep everyone happy. But you can't keep everyone happy. There's always going to be somebody who's jealous of your situation, who thinks that you get to have magic freedoms that they don't have. Like that gay guy in Cheyenne who thought, well, the safe place policy in Starbucks is only for homosexuals. No, it's not. And why do you hold such bias against the homeless? What did the homeless do to you? Kind of like what did men do to you? Kind of like what did whites do to you? Did every white person do that? Did every man do that? Your predators have names. Many of the man-hating lesbians that I know, the more their girlfriend pisses them off, the more they man-hate, the more they man-bash. And also, the more sexually oriented their conversations and their typing on Facebook have really become. You're mad at your girlfriend and you're taking it out on men. Kind of like those folks at the BLM rally, thinking, well, you know, us black folks didn't get what we wanted. I can take it out on a homeless black man because, well, I have firecrackers. You guys have seen that video. Black man, right after a BLM rally, throwing an artillery shell at a homeless man in a sleeping bag. A black homeless man. That black man who went to the BLM rally, he didn't give a fuck about black rights. He just wanted something to bitch about. The first thing he did after that BLM rally was over is go find a homeless person to take his shit out on. Didn't care that it was a black man. Now, we as whites get blamed for Native Americans being killed by their own families. That's horrible. We as homeless people get blamed for everything that you're not allowed to blame on Jews. You're not allowed to blame on Mexicans. You're not allowed to blame on black people, or you're a racist. Meanwhile, you take it out on black people and Mexican people and Islamic people and lots of other different people who are on the streets because you know their groups don't care about them once they hit the streets. If you're homeless, it means nobody gives a fuck about you. If you are disabled and homeless, there is supposed to be help for you. But they deny you the assistance you're supposed to have. Make any trivial excuse to deny you, and then tell you you didn't fucking try. Tell you these services are free, and after months and months and months and thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars spent being blown off every fucking time. And then after they've got somebody within their ranks that they want to protect because their person committed fucking felonies against me, then they're like, oh, well, now we'll investigate it. Are you sure? Because when I tried to turn in the evidence again after you claimed that, well, you went out of your way to make me feel as uncomfortable as possible. Went out of your way to interrupt me as much as possible. But you also gave up useful information, like the information that what Bill Burr had to say, the state patrolman, about them investigating Scott DaCosta was complete bullshit. And by allowing me to know that that was complete bullshit, they were letting me know that the reason for them calling was bullshit. The reason that they had claimed that they had called before. What reason would they have had to call before? The crimes that I was trying to turn in. Well, if they weren't returning a call about the crimes that I was trying to turn in, why were they calling me? Now, obviously, she knew that I'd been trying to contact her. She knew that I had been trying to contact the Nebraska State Patrol. That would be, of course, Sergeant Jones of Nebraska State Patrol Troop E. There's also Investigator Woods. Lauderdale was not the only person to assault me in the Scottsbluff jail. And where is Nebraska State Patrol Troop E headquarters? Scottsbluff. I was repeatedly assaulted in the Scottsbluff jail. Sent to the Scottsbluff jail twice, not once, but twice, on bogus charges that they eventually had to drop. Not only that, they weren't felonies, they were misdemeanors I was charged with, and they couldn't even make those stick. All they had to do is prevent me from going to court with Leslie Snell. And then they could magically get whatever the fuck they want. They isolated me from being able to turn in my predators and repeatedly forced me to turn in my predators to my predators. Here I gotta mind my P's and Q's. One person doesn't like me at the Denny's. The rest of the people do. But that one person that doesn't like me can make my life a living hell. And she knows it. The 3 people at the Starbucks who are snooty, only one of them is really, 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 truly, maybe 2 of them. I get a feeling that Jennifer kind of has to stuff her can at work. I get the feeling she's probably one of those. I'm not going to say it. I don't want to speculate. Maybe she's just having a rough week, a rough month, who knows. Now, like Mike said last night, he said, the thing with Mickey is that, I just feel sorry for her because something in her is so miserable that she's just got to make other people miserable. Yeah, I feel sorry for her too. But that doesn't mean that I'm going to take the abuse. It doesn't mean that I want Julie to take the abuse. When you tell somebody that doing something a particular way, as far as the scheduling goes, is going to hurt them and cost them, why would you only schedule them for those hours after that? Except to be mean. Anyway, I'm going to go back into the Starbucks. I'm hoping the mean girl went home. She might have just gone on her lunch break, but same thing today, I don't exist. At least the assistant manager feller's there today, and he's a very jolly feller. And Dallas is there today, and she is a very jolly person as well. And I am so thankful for them. And although Bree is no longer happy and jolly anymore, when she was, it was very pleasant. And even though she is not, I still like her, and I accept her as a person. And whatever it is in her that's the issue, whether it's her personal life or something that she heard or something that she's seen or some ache or pain that she's having, I hope whatever issue that she's got goes away so that she can be that cheery person that she was when I first got here. Good to be ready. Thanks for coming to visit. Stay out of trouble or don't get caught. Remember, you are your brother's keeper and no victim left behind.